Good afternoon, everybody. I'll introduce myself. I'm Akhilesh Chopra. I've been with the brand for close to more than a half a decade. Uh, been through a lot of journeys in terms of the pivots as well, right? So when we started off as a on-site tool, and today we're omni-channel marketing suite, right? So we've come a long way, and definitely it's all happened because of our clientele base, right? So we're a domain agnostic tool, wherein we have fitments into different domains, and that's where we are going to talk about broader topic of how we map customer journeys, and what sense we make out of LTV, while it's a misconstrued term, in the larger aspect of it. So I have Rahul with me. He's CEO and co-founder NxtWave, right? Rahul, I'll let you do the talking.
Thanks for the introduction, and first of all, thanks for having me here. So, just to give you a little bit brief about me, so I'm co-founder and CEO at NxtWave. So, we are an edtech startup upskilling college students to become software developers, and it's been close to 3 years since we started NxtWave, our journey at NxtWave, and we were able to help close to 10,000 students to become software developers, and along the way, we were also able to help like 1,500 plus companies, ranging from fast growing startups to Fortune 500 giants. And I think I look forward to kind of sharing our insights of mapping customer journeys to kind of how do we drive LTV as part of this session. Thanks once again for having me.
Right. Yeah. Why don't you zoom in into a bit more about your brand, your journey? Because so I'm not sure how many of us know NxtWave in the room. Or what about others? So let's also do this. Let's do a bit of segmentation, right? I mean, that's what I want to do this. I mean, I want to make it more interactive rather than just chatting across, because we had a long chat any which ways. I probably want each one of you to contribute, and let's make it more holistic in terms of it, right? What all domains do we have present in the room today? Folks from what all domains? EdTech. No, marketing, I'm sure marketing and product, but broadly the business side of it. Do you resonate yourself with fintech, edtech, D2C, e-com, travel? What's the split we have? Edtech. You're from which brand? Sorry? Imbibe. Okay. Fintech. Okay. Yeah, I have a hand there. Yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry? More money. That's fintech? That's fintech. Okay. And whole lot of startups? Yeah. Oh, Unacademy, right. Okay, that's a plug for us. I didn't plug them here, but they are our, one of our clients. From? Mudrex. Okay. Are you a client yet? Oh, you are a client also. Guys, this is not set up, by the way, okay? So don't blame me for that. But yeah, do we have Simply Learn? Simply Learn folks? How much of EdTech is there? So Unacademy, NxtWave, Get My Uni. How many of us know Get My Uni, guys? They are part of College Deco group. College Deco? Yeah? All right. D2C? You're D2C. You are? D2C and EdTech, that's like, do you want to talk about it? That's a good combination to have. How do you say D2C and EdTech? Online? Music school. Oh, okay. So you said D2C. Right. Right. Wonderful. So, okay. So I got a broader sense. So we have a mixed bag, right? And I'm sure everybody resonates with customer, lifetime value and customer journeys, right? In whatever capacity, I'm sure that we are ahead of the curve, and the audience that I'm addressing today, you guys are in some shape, size, form leveraging customer journeys, and you do map your customers depending upon different attribution, segmentation, cohorts, whatever, whatnot, right? A lot of you would be using us. You are definitely ahead of the curve, guys. For the remaining who are not, we'll kind of help you come along the way. But any thoughts on how do you guys perceive LTV? And I'll just quickly take it. I hope that's okay with you. So anybody who has a take on LTV? on your side of business, it could be a tech, fintech, anybody. How do you perceive LTV for your brand or business? No, but what is LTV for you? Yeah, you want to go ahead?
I would divide it into AOV.
Yeah.
Multiply by pension, multiply by number of orders a month,
Okay.
into the frequency of orders, things like that. So then these are the L2 metrics, and then working on each and every part of it.
Got it. And is it largely true for everybody, or is it different for you? You probably have a different take on this.
Just wondering, instead of mathematical definition, how can we simply define everything?
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at, right? And I think that's probably, Rahul, you'll have to kind of enlighten us
Sure.
in terms of your experiences
Sure.
with respect to LTV and mapping
Sure.
customer journey. So let's just kind of start
Sure.
from there and come back and take a few cues from the audience as well.
Sure. So while I can't answer for every business, but I'll explain it for NxtWave in terms of what LTV means for us. So I think like every business, they'll spend some cost on customer acquisition costs. And once you acquire a customer, so how can you kind of increase your revenue from each customer who is already been onboarded, or somebody who is already purchased any of your product. So in our case, for us, LTV means that if a student joins our program, and if he or she is referring us more and more number of students to join NxtWave, then it's a CAC reduction for us, because it's word of mouth and it reduces CAC by a significant amount. So that's one area of how we could have like lot of lifetime value from each student. And second, again, which is not very different. So once each and every student who joins us, once they kind of get placed into companies, so again there is a because we are able to fulfill the aspiration of a student, again there is a word of mouth which kind of spreads across. So I think ultimately for us, LTV means fulfilling the aspirations of a student in terms of creating the right value for them, such that it either adds value for us in terms of the referral, or in terms of delivering the outcome for the student. So I think these are two cases for us in terms of lifetime value. I think again it effectively means increasing your top line, and at the same time the percentage of the bottom line also gets increased by a much larger factor.
And what are those touch points? That's a broader spectrum in
Yeah.
terms of LTV, right?
Yes.
How do you then kind of map the customer journeys across the funnel
Sure.
and the entire life cycle of it all?
Sure. So I think in our case, the way we look at mapping customer journeys is pretty simple. So again, we have a student. We are a digital platform, so we operate everything online. So there are thousands of students. So the way we look at mapping customer journeys is imagine sitting in the shoes of a student, and how can we act like a personal mentor for each student. So be it in terms of trying to understand the students aspirations, or be it in terms of challenges that the student would be having all throughout the journey in terms of becoming a proficient developer. And once we kind of understand what are his aspirations and challenges, how can technology as a as a technology, how can technology act as a personal mentor, be it in terms of how do we kind of create right touch points to kind of be it in terms of motivating the student, or be it in terms of how do we empower the student with right set of guidance that we provide to them. And also it means that we also need to kind of provide triggers at right points of time. So
Right.
I think in our case, mapping customer journey is they have we broke it down our entire program into multiple milestones.
Correct.
So each milestone means that they are skilled in a certain area. So we do bit of gamification in terms of like the way games have you have levels, and within that you would be earning badges and all of it. So I think uh, these key milestones are nothing but they signify the value that we have already delivered to the student. And our entire focus is on driving student to kind of get that value.
That's a very, I think, so for everybody, I think the mode here is gamification, right? So I'm just picking up keywords, right? So gamification is one. Personalization is the other aspect you
Yes.
mentioned. And then, having the basic know-how of the kind of cohorts you're going after, right? And what resonates with them. So that you're more closer to the consumer base, right? And
Exactly.
this would be an agnostic, approach. I would say, not just for edtech. I'm sure it's equivalently true for fintech as well, or D2C, or media or whatever, right? So would you say that these customer journeys and the mapping of it all, it's very integral, and even for the success of the business? How do you position that?
I think, like I said, every student, like somebody who's there to learn, so they need a personal coach that they would need. So, without having a customer journey which is laid out, I think it becomes hard to kind of drive the student to kind of achieve what he or she needs, and only if they achieve what they want, only then we as a business will be successful. So there is no means for us to, and I think it is valid for every business, right? So every customer comes to the platform with an intent to get value, be it in terms of like fintech, assuming like if somebody is into loans, so a customer comes to kind of get a loan, right? So that's the aspiration or the goal, or that's the value that the customer is looking at. So every customer comes with like a certain expectation of what the platform should be providing it to them. And our goal by mapping these customer journeys is like how do we simplify it so that they achieve the goal that they are aspiring for.
And is gamification an integral part of the strategy per se? So let's say, let me put it this way. And I'm not sure how many of us, use gamification at a brand level, in the room. So we have some takes. I want to take on gamification from the audience in terms of, leveraging it as an integral part of business strategy, right? So broadly, what I'm going to come back to, Rahul, and this is for you, that, let's say you didn't really go down that road, right? What was that inflection point where you figure out, okay, this is how I have to, kind of scope out my product, and it has to be an integral part of my business strategy that, I have to gamify it all, right? Like milestones and everything else. Was there a different way? Was there a different blueprint? And, are you better off this way? Which of course, you would say yes, which is biased.
Yeah.
But, what could be others losing out if they are not leveraging, this strategy?
Sure. Well, again, while I can't answer it for everyone, but again, so education is one such business. Like you create pain to our customers every day. So we are not trying to kind of ease the job of the student, but we are trying to add pain, like the way you go to a gym. So nobody goes to the gym and comes like saying that I'm more. I mean, while they would be happy, but they'll have to take the pain, right? So education is such a business. Like it's a you're adding a lot of cognitive load, you're making them stretch, all of it. So there has to be some way
No, but
to
sorry to cut you there, but
Yeah.
isn't gamification the whole idea behind simplifying and engaging rather than, giving that pain to the user that go figure out and, making it less intuitive?
Yeah.
Because, from my lens, I would say that, when you're gamifying, right, you're making it more intuitive and more organic in a way of consumption, right?
Yeah.
So that is, the solution is right out there
Yeah.
in front of the consumer, and organically, the flow of the product becomes very intuitive.
Yeah.
So it's less pain, right? And more gain, not no
I think,
no pain, no gain.
I think, see, like I said, I would compare it with like a gym. So nobody can take away the pain of like lifting weights, right? So ultimately, you have to take the pain. And like when you go to the gym, you have like music around playing around you, and you also see that you can see the progress that you are making. Like you lift one day, you lift like 5 kgs weight, and then you kind of progress to lift like 10 kgs of weight. In a way, that's also gamification because you are able to see the progress tangibly.
So basically, you're saying, we are coming to the point of instant gratification. Is that what it
Exactly.
is? Like,
Exactly.
gamification is key to instant gratification, and
Yes.
when you kind of see that happen,
Yes.
you get more driven towards.
Yes.
So that's the approach. Okay.
Yes.
Coming back to the answer. Do we have the mic now, sir? 2 minutes. 2 more minutes.
I think there are
only
just
two
two
mics.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. I'll come to you then.
Sure.
Where do we have? Yeah, you have a take.
Everyone, my name is Parth and I'm the founder of GoldPay. So at GoldPay, we are essentially doing price-linked savings. So savings is a long-term journey, right? You need to save for maybe 8, 10, 12 years to see a large corpus for yourself. But for that long-term journey, there's no short-term rewarding or short-term gratification of sorts. So what we do on our platform is that every time you save on GoldPay, we have an mobile application, we put all the savers into a lottery system, right? So each time you save, you get a ticket into our weekly number draw. And if you're lucky in that weekly number draw, you can win prizes up to 10 lakhs each week, right? So now just the behavioral economics that I can save my money and stand the chance to win a life-changing amount is what's driving a lot of users to adopt this system. And now again, price-linked savings is not something new worldwide. It's existed in a lot of countries like UK, Middle East, etc. But we are one of the first ones to bring it to India. And Indians love savings, Indians love rewards. So we're just marrying the two concepts, but in a whole gamified approach of price-linked savings through our weekly number draws.
So if you would have rather followed a different approach, was there a different approach in the first place? Or?
Yeah, there was a different approach. So we didn't start with price-linked savings. This is actually a pivot in our journey. We initially started with budgeting and tracking one's money very effectively so that they can save more each month. But then we realized that one, there is no fundamental motivation for people to save. Yeah, it's not working, right? Because it's a boring activity that you're giving them. It's again like the pain thing, the gym reference, right? It's the painful thing. You have to do budgeting, you have to track your money and then be able to save. But what if you flip the equation? What if you make savings fun that you're motivated to save each month by yourself? So that's what we do through price-linked savings now. Yeah.
Do we have a similar input?
Hello everyone. So I am from edtech industry and I am a UI.
So many of us know Udaan as a B2B platform, but we have also tried our hand with B2C, scaling B2C, something on the lines of DMart and Metro. So while scaling the B2C platform, I'll take a cue from my previous speaker. Of course, when we were giving, say, 10 rupee, 15 rupee or 50 rupee coupons also, which was 50% of their cart value, then we were not seeing customers willing to spend that also. They were not coming on the platform even if they know that their wallet has 50 rupees. But as soon as we introduced some of the gaming effects, which was a simple cartwheel or a coupon that they find on their journey, there was more of endowment. I think even if they were earning 5 rupees against that 50, they were willing to spend that more. And their wallet, it was a hard-earned wallet money, which was they were more keen on spending.
So it's not about the wallet share per se. I think that's the note.
Yep, the endowment and whenever gamification is spoken about, I always speak about the Google Diwali stamps. I think Diwali is around the corner. I'm always waiting to earn those stamps again, and that I think endowment was the best at effect.
Paytm does it fairly well, right? Cred, in fact, Cred as well. So yeah, so thanks guys. So coming back to you, Rahul, kind of tying this back to LTV, right? Which is our main agenda for today. How do we tie these strategies, and is that a leading metric, like a North Star metric for the business, LTV?
I think again, definitely. So LTV is something that we can't ignore, especially in a product like us. So where a customer or a student joins us, we do not have like a catalog of products where they can keep coming back and buying. So it becomes more and more important for us to kind of see and figure out ways to maximize the value.
So those milestones,
Yes.
In terms of the entire product architecture per se, you're saying the
Yes.
flow is very important.
And the second part is in terms of referral. So as you might have heard, like in edtechs, like the CACs are like skyrocketing, or
Yeah.
they are more.
Yeah.
So the only way you can kind of reduce on your CAC significantly is by having like word of mouth or referral
Yes.
wheel running like extremely well. Only then I think you as a company can make better business. So I think there is no second thoughts about like should we think or should we not think. It's always there, and we keep it as a North Star. So while there is a sale which happens, but post sale also we have a specific team whose focus is on like how do we improve the LTV, and they work on it.
Perfect. Now, slightly digressing, but I think for the larger audience that we have in the room, we all know what edtech has been going through of late, right? And it's been winter all around, and I think that's where. So this is a plug for NxtWave, by the way. They have a very strong foundational story, right? Maybe you want to probably give some cues so that there's a lot that I think young people in the room would probably want to imbibe and learn from. You guys just raised your Series A, right? This year, early this year, and that's where there was probably every investor would kind of try and stay away. It was the funding winter broadly for edtech, and they're the success story from this year onward. So I think a huge round of applause for Rahul and team.
Akhilesh, I was pretty happy actually when a lot of people didn't raise hands in the room. So that shows that our marketing efficacy is like extremely well in terms of we are only known to the people whom we want to know, and we are not known
that's a
to
good
the people whom we do not want to know, or we do not wish to spend a lot more. So I think again, adding to what Akhilesh has mentioned, I think we are one of the startups who were able to raise a massive Series A of like $33 million, especially in the funding winter, that too
guys,
in edtech, and we did the close round in March this year. So I think again, it is also more than the funding round. I would say it's a reflection of how capital efficient we have been as a business, how frugal we have been as a business.
You guys are positive, cash flow positive,
Yes,
right?
we have been cash flow positive and profitable right from day one as a business. So
Wow, guys! I mean,
and
definitely.
I think we are the largest edtech in terms of largest Series A round in edtech. So that's why the reason why I'm happy not being known to who are not our customers per se.
Right.
But I would be worried if students say that we do not know NxtWave. So I would be extremely worried if students say that. But rest all, I would say it's more in terms of like a vanity. And
Yeah.
there is a time when we'd focus on in terms of building a brand among non-consumers,
Right.
maybe which is close to our IPO. But meanwhile, focus heads down and focus on who your customers are, and be frugal in terms of your spends. And I think it also adds value to your customers as well.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. So that brings me to my next question to everybody, and definitely to Rahul, to you. Segmentation, right? What we are broadly talking about is, knowing who your customer is, figuring out, that 80% lot, the 20% lot that's going to get you 80-85% of the business, right? So the Pareto rule, right? So what's your take on that? Is that also an integral part of the strategy? And how do you tie it with LTV? How do you segment those audience? How do you look at those cohorts? I think there's a lot of learning that a lot of people can probably take away.
Sure. I think at the time of we starting the business, we thought we were targeting only one customer segment, which is 18 to 21 year old students, and specifically students coming in from tier 2, 3, 4 colleges. So in our minds, we all thought it was just one target segment that we are tapping into. And honestly, I didn't even realize the value of platforms like WebEngage. Why do they even exist? So I think only after
but we do, and I hope we're doing good for you, right?
Exactly.
And I hope we had a bit share in the Series A.
Yeah, definitely. So I think
did we get this on record? It's still rolling, right? I mean,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think each month passed by, we realized that not all students are the same. So initially we started with 5 buckets, then we might have gone to 20 buckets. I don't know the current number of segments that we have now, but I think it's so as we we as a business, as we are progressing on a day-to-day basis, we realize that how each student journey would be very different, how students are inherently different, and while all of them fall into the same target segment, but each one of them is unique in terms of their journey. So I think we are now, I think I was discussing with you a while ago as well. So I think my view is that over 6 months or 1 year into, there would be theoretically infinite sort of segments, which is nothing but personalization. how can you kind of deeply personalize to each of your customer segment, and the more you personalize, you feel that sense of belongingness that she was talking about. So that can happen only when you feel that every message that you receive, every conversation that happens, the moment you feel that I am understood, and I have been provided with an
So the
action.
brand knows me, right? That sense of
Exactly.
belongingness and
Yes.
that intuitiveness of it all, right? You're saying.
Exactly. So at some point,
But how do you solve for this at scale? See, the
Sure.
point is, that's where most businesses fail,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you have a
I
take
think
on that.
there is no easy formula. I would say one is definitely we need to deploy in terms of what data do we collect, how well do we kind of do data analysis.
So you need to have WebEngage, is what he's saying. It's
Exactly.
not what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm hearing. Come on, guys. I mean, round of applause, guys. Come on. WebEngage power users.
And
Thank you so much. Yeah.
there is two parts to it. One is in terms of quantitative data, which obviously is in terms of the data that gets captured on the platform and you do the analytics. And there is qualitative information in terms of when we speak to the students, or when we there are a lot of nuances which doesn't get captured in the quantitative format. So we need to make sure that we also have.
That's an interesting take, though. I'm just going to cut you there, but.
Sure.
Guys, quantitative and qualitative. Do we have some take in the audience on this in terms of, and it's a very effective part of the strategy, though, I can tell you, right? When we kind of sit down on the table and drive the business strategy of it all, I think, this kind of is the epicenter from where it all originates, right? So if you've done this right, if you've cracked this right in the first place, I think, you've solved for the top of the funnel and, the retention side of things, right? And the communication and the content also kind of flows in because, then it becomes more intuitive and it, has a fair share of resonance, with the people you're trying to reach out to, right? So it kind of, though it's product marketing, right? And retention marketing, but it doesn't look like that to the other side, right? It becomes more organic, and that's the beauty, right? Because there's a very thin line. It's a deep topic. I won't go into the depth, but yeah, I want some takes from the audience, please. Do we have anybody who has a take in terms of qualitative versus quantitative approach when it comes to segmentation and cohorts? Anybody? Too technical? Yeah, somebody at the back. Can my mic reach there, or maybe I can reach there? But I don't see you, sir. Okay, yeah.
I can just give a simple example. I'm Soham. I'm a founder of a few startups of myself. So what Physics Wala did was basically qualitative, in which you have a few number of students, but you give them so good an experience that they themselves will go out and become your brand ambassador or your evangelist. But what Byju's did, initially they were qualitative, their name grew, but once they got the easy money, they went quantitative and they started spamming, and then basically what the ethic winter. Yeah. No, so this is just two examples, but this is really clear, very concise.
So yeah, thanks for your input. Really appreciate that. But I gotta be politically correct, so I'll kind of stay away from that touchy part of it. So no conclusions there. But yeah, I mean, fair point. Yeah. But any other take? Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah, so Jitendra here from, I'm working in a fintech called PayU. So as a part of qualitative versus quantitative, right? We talk to a lot of merchants, our merchants who are there onboarded at PayU. So it's important to take both kinds of data, and then in our research also as a designer we do, when we do qualitative research, we do user interviews, we have a questionnaire in place, and using that, we talk to merchants, be empathy, have empathy with them, and just to understand what are their pain points, and that helps build a connect with them. So it helps you get the right information on one-on-one, which you cannot get in a quantitative method, as that helps you build insights and grow your product and make the product better. Versus quantitative, it also helps, as he mentioned, right? Data analysis. We also do a lot of data analysis and use that data and make sense of it, and then compare both, and in combination how both can help us to build the product better.
So I was trying to kind of touch upon on the digital first side of things, right? So let's go back to Rahul. Let's hear from you.
Yeah.
Qualitative, quantitative,
Mm.
and I think I'm hearing we are short on time or what, right? But I think we want to talk here. Yeah, we're having a good time. All right. Okay, so in the essence of time, I'll try and kind of sum up, but I'm loving it. I'm sure we all are. So we'll probably come back to you and quick take on qualitative, quantitative, right? From a segmentation perspective, digital first,
Sure.
and how you tie it back to the LTV.
Sure. I think it's always in our case quantitative. Qualitative always follows quantitative. So first, you always kind of try to kind of derive insights from customer interactions predominantly. So once you have these notes, then from there you try to come up with certain features or certain metrics that you want to kind of measure.
So let's not go on the product side of
Sure.
things, because that's one side of the story, right?
Yes.
Wherein you're talking about how the product evolves and
Yes.
you kind of make it more consumer centric.
Yes.
I'm kind of coming back to the engagement side of things,
Got
right?
it.
So when we have to talk about doing retention right or engagement right, and that's where I'm positioning LTV,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let me kind of throw in some keywords.
Sure.
Segmentation with respect to attributes, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So user personas,
Mhm.
attribution,
Yes.
the kind of data that kind of flows in,
Yes.
everything to do with data, and
Yes.
kind of churning that data
Yes.
to kind of understand
Sure.
how we can build strategies
Sure.
to increase our LTV.
Sure. I think to answer question in the same lingo that you mentioned. So I think qualitative helps you in terms of decide like what attributes do you want to capture,
Correct.
and
Correct. So
what
touch
sort
points.
of values do you want to capture, which might not be there on day one. And once you have those data points, again you do the segmentation analysis, and what sort of campaigns do you want to run for which target segment, and all of it happens, which will eventually kind of lead to better experience, and which will lead to kind of LTV.
Perfect.
So I think
Yeah.
qualitative determines like in terms of what data points to capture.
Correct. And how would you tie it to the quantitative side of it? Is
I
there
think,
a leverage?
In terms of quantitative, while I think in terms of data capture, it can again happen in terms of flagging or labeling your customer support charts, or be it in terms of when you send out surveys, or be it in terms of your feedback forms. So you kind of try to reflect the attributes all throughout your platform, and once the data keeps flowing in, that's where you kind of keep monitoring the metrics, and these data points add additional insights about your data.
But would you say that today's digital world is very fast paced, right? It's
Yes.
fast evolving, fast changing, right?
Yeah.
So the customer cohorts and personas also kind of evolve,
Yes.
right? What's the play around that? Any strategy that you have probably
Yeah.
that we
I think
use?
again, like I would take the example of gym. So there is no shortcut. In terms of there is no easier means to kind of evolve, except that you can have right processes in place. And one of it is that we make sure that every person who works for the organization, so they'll have to speak to a few students each week, so that we are up to speed in terms of what the customer or the student thinks about our product. And unfortunately, in our case, none of our employees actually use our product, so it becomes extremely hard for us to kind of
They don't. So
they
you're
don't.
saying the people who are building are away from the product? Is that?
I mean, they keep building, but they don't use it on a day-to-day basis. So unlike Swiggy, if I'm building it, I can be the
that way.
customer of the product as well.
Yeah.
But whereas in education,
Right.
for the target segment that we are into, so none of our employees actually, including me, do not use the product as much. So the only way for us to kind of stay in touch with the student or be as close is keep talking to the students as much as possible. And I think even if at times, even if you kind of keep the conversations open as well, I think as you try to engage with them, they'll come up with a lot more things from their perspective. So I think all we need to have is that establish have clear processes set in place, so that you are capturing what the customer is thinking about your product. And how do you kind
And
of
Rahul, how do you do that digitally? Like, you run a lot of NPS, or,
Yes.
kind of, what's the strategy there?
I think we do NPS only to kind of validate, what our hypothesis is. So it's not that we start with NPS and then do some things. While we do also run NPS as an independent thing as well, but to kind of see sometimes we do not have any hypothesis as well. Just we kind of start doing the running the NPS campaign just to see if we can if there is anything something which is unexpectedly coming out.
So what I'm hearing is even the NPS
Mhm.
has a backstory of segmentation
Yes.
and a hypothesis wherein you already know whom you have to reach out to,
Yeah,
right? That's a very effective way of
Mm.
driving NPS, right,
Mm.
guys? I'm not sure how many of us are doing that, but I think a lot to learn from there. So that's definitely there. But in terms of communication channels, right now, that's also evolved,
Mm.
right? What are the channels that you leverage?
I think we use all the traditional channels like WhatsApp, SMS, email, and we also use like digital channels like Instagram or YouTube.
And what works best for you?
I think at each business unit it's different. So in case of like sales and marketing, like digital channels like social platforms work a lot. And whereas in case of like once the student is onboarded, so again the platform, the kind of pop-ups that we show, in-app, personalization, web personalization plays a very significant role for us. So I think it differs from each business unit. I think we use like every channel that's there on WebEngage.
So you
as a
mentioned
platform.
personalization, right? Now
Yes.
that's quite a cornerstone of engagement, guys, right? And that's a broader spectrum that we kind of are trying to get better at as well and evolving, right? And we have a whole stack around that. Now, in terms of NxtWave at your brand, what's the personalization strategy per se, right? I mean, I understood the channels, but what is the strategy behind it? And how do you again tie it to LTV? Because again, when you're talking about channels, there's a good enough spend there as well, right? Performance marketers in the room. Any performance marketers in the room? Okay, you're there, right? Just one? Is that okay? Two. Okay. All right. Anyways, so there's a good amount of spend which gets tied into CAC, right?
Yes.
Again, a touchy topic.
Yes.
But how do you find that balance? Because CAC is always going to come in way of
Yeah.
LTV. So
Yeah.
what's the play there?
Sure. So in terms of like again, for one to resonate with whatever the ad that you make or whatever the campaign messaging that you make. So I think in the world that is filled with like everyone receives like hundreds of notifications or thousands of notifications, messages. So there is huge inflow of like all these notifications and all of it coming up. So the only way for someone to kind of engage with you is like are you sending like appropriate number of triggers for the customer at appropriate times, and also the message should be more personalized in a way that it's motivating for someone to kind of act on it. Only then I think we would see be it the CACs reducing or the engagement keeping in or the retention happening, and eventually leading to LTV. So I think LTV is a lagging factor, lagging metric. So we do not focus as much on LTV in day-to-day operation. So it's more about the input factors, input metrics in terms of like are we sending the right message to right.
But it's all compounding, right? Because
Yes.
your LTV is again the North Star metric. So it
Yes.
all boils down to
Yes.
LTV from any aspect of it all, right?
Exactly.
It is converging
I
into
think
LTV.
while LTV is one metric, but you can't keep obsessed about it. As long as you're obsessed about the input metrics, as long as your right input metrics are you're focused on it. I think while LTV acts as a directional thing for us to measure and see if we are doing the right things as a business, but ultimately when you are into action, it's the input metrics that you focus on.
I like
And-
how you put it, with a lot of vigor, it's like, the entire body language is like, input.
Yeah.
Don't be obsessed by LTV.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rigor there. That shows in the foundation as well. I think,
While we are obsessed about LTV, but it's only as a output metric that we are obsessed about. But most of the time, like day in day out, like all the team, so they are more obsessed about the input metrics, which will eventually lead to an outcome.
So with all said and done, right now, trying to again sum up. I know we're running short on time, but just trying to sum up, right? You allow me that much, please? Okay, thank you so much. So coming back, trying to just kind of churn this together, a whole lot of insights. And how do I put this? A couple of keywords coming to my mind, but then let's talk about building loyalty, right? Because again, I think LTV is incomplete without when you don't talk about loyalty. So how do you build that loyal customer base, or does that? So guys, I'll come back to you, but for the audience, you've been silent for some time now, and I want to shake you up. Customer loyalty, does a loyal customer base exist, or it's a misnomer? I mean, it's quite talked about. Yeah, you have a take on this?
Hey all, I'm Surbhi. I work with Capillary Technologies. I've been leading the product Engage Plus and been a part of loyalty platform earlier. So I think to answer your question, the loyalty aspect varies from industry to industry. If a customer has a reason to stick to your product or a service, definitely a loyalty kicks in. But if it's a product like a D2C, wherein a customer has no incentive to stick to your brand and has many options available, then loyalty. No, no, no. I am generally talking. Yeah.
From a user perspective, like, let's say if I'm maybe in one of the segments for Amazon as a loyalty base or Bazaar as a loyalty base, they consider me, but am I a loyal base and the user actually is?
So what I spoke was from my perspective, right? As an aware digital consumer, I believe this is what how I perceive loyalty, right? If it's a D2C brand like a Zara and H&M and Marks and Spencer, I will always go for something which can find me a better product at a reasonable price and with a better service, like better product, of course, right? But if let's say I'm an in-money customer, right? And all my assets are linked there. Now, do I have an incentive to move to another platform because I have to redo all of my things, or a banking customer, right? Do I have an incentive even if I'm really fed up with my bank? But since my bank account is linked everywhere,
And it's difficult to move.
yes, that stickiness factor comes into play, right? So that's what.
So basically, maybe you have a take on discretionary versus non-discretionary, because that's also, I think, plays a equivalent role, right? Is that so? I mean, how is loyalty perceived for these two points?
So I think it varies from customer segment also, right? For an individual like me, right, who has a lot of time to go around and shop in the market, in the sense that look for other other brands or products who will offer me the same service, that factor, that loyalty reduces a bit, right? But however, as a busy parent or a consumer who's not so much digitally aware, for them the loyalty is the only option that they have on the plate.
So I think it's three things. One would be product, the ecosystem, and the way you feel using the product, or let's say status. So let's take Apple as an example, right? So their loyalty doesn't come in only because of product, because there might be an Android phone that is much better and more, right? But what Apple has done is they built an ecosystem. So now you're using the phone, which is easily connectable to the laptop, which is easily connectable to the TV, right? So now what happens is, now that it is they built an ecosystem and the product is very good, and now you also have a sense of feeling that you have a high status. So with all combined of these three, there is a sense of, okay, I am loyal to the brand, which you're not directly saying it, but it's built in with a lot of things. So it can't be one specific thing that you become loyal to a brand.
So I feel customer loyalty, as she mentioned, right? Like it depends on industry. Give an example, like example of food delivery apps, right? So I, as a consumer, I don't care about I want to order from Zomato or Swiggy, whichever gives me higher like discount, I'll go for it. I won't care about if they think, if they feel about customer loyalty, they can think from their perspective, from user perspective. It's like whichever gives like higher discount, I'll go for it. As compared to other industries like shopping online, right? Like for example, if I take my case, so if I like want to buy something from Amazon versus from Flipkart, so my personal experience on Amazon may have been better in terms of customer support, which also plays a major role in terms of customer loyalty, right? So yeah, so, correct. So hence I prefer that more, because my like existing experience and the customer support which I have got on Amazon may not be there on Flipkart. So that also depends, and like that's why I agree, like it depends on industry to industry.
Perfect. So I'm sure there are more people. I see a lot of hands, but I'm sorry I won't be able to come to you because we really have to move on. But just to sum it up, I think the inputs that we just got, right, and we all hear it, and we all are party to it. I think with the evolving customer personas, behavior, and I think the same product is available, let's say for marketplaces, right? Very good example. You look for that price point and the experience and a lot of it. It's a very dynamic environment wherein it's very hard for the brand to build that loyalty, right? Or to keep you loyal. I mean, see, that's where I was hinting upon, right? From a brand perspective, basically. And that's where, my question comes back to you, that as a brand, now we already know the kind of personas we have in this room itself, right? So in your space, and EdTech is a very competitive space, right? I mean, it's not that you're the only brand doing what you're doing,
Exactly.
right? So what sets you apart? And again, with such dynamic personas, right? Evolving needs,
Yeah.
different touch points, experience has to be taken care of, product has to be taken care of,
Yes.
CAC has to be taken care of.
Yes.
And then definitely the North Star metric LTV, I mean, that's what you are trying to, look at. So how do you blend all of this together?
I think again, after hearing to a lot of stories around, so I think loyalty, while the keyword is one, but there are multiple vectors to it. Like when he was mentioning about Amazon, he was subtly talking about the trust that he has on the platform.
Yeah, trust. In fact, Apple, right?
Exactly.
Pretty
I think
similar story.
again, in case of Apple, it could be status or respect.
Correct.
That I derive out of it.
Sure.
Nobody, when he mentioned about talking about I ordering from Swiggy or Zomato, because it's not giving him or her in terms of any sort of status by saying that I ordered from Swiggy or I ordered from Zomato. There, it could be more in terms of the value prop in itself. Whereas with Amazon, it's more about the trust because they are more online as a player. Or in case of Apple, in spite of the ecosystem, even if Android builds or does build this sort of ecosystem today, Apple, for the sort of status that it has to offer, or some cases, in our case, especially in EdTech, it's more about the pain point that we are solving for the student.
No, but see, that's where my question is largely, broadly. We have an academy, we have a few other EdTech players, right? There is a lot of overlap, right?
Yes.
So what is that you are doing, they're not doing, and vice versa, right? We have likes of Scalar, we
Sure,
have
yes.
similar
Yes.
brands out there.
Yes.
So
I think-
what is that point of differentiation, largely?
I think to an external world and somebody who is looking from 1 lakh feet above the ground, all of them look alike. But I think as you go deeper, I think each one of us is doing a different job. All of us could be catering to the same 18 to 23 or 24-year age group, but we are not a small country. So I think we have a very huge young population. Each one of us comes with a different aspiration.
So am I hearing that there's enough for everybody? Enough share?
I think
The
that's
pie
true.
is big.
I think none of us combined together. I think we are just scratching the surface, including the
definitely.
likes of
Yeah.
PW or an
Yeah.
academy or
Yeah.
all the names that you have taken out. So I think there are diverse needs for each of the target segment. Again, it's an advantage because a country like US might not have this level of diversity. Or this level of market to to say that there can be n number of companies which can exist or coexist together. But in case of India, because of the diverse the volume of young population as well as the volume of diversity that you have, so each one of the business can be catering to a specific niche and still be a great business building out. So I think we are not yet at a point where to say that we are competing like all the names that you have mentioned. So I take a lot of inspiration from each one of these companies. There is a lot we learn from each other. So I think the point is more in terms of who is the target segment that you're focused on or obsessed about, and what problem statement are you solving about, and how deeply can you personalize it, or how deeply can you customize it for your target segment. I think that's what differentiates. So I think we started in 2020, mid of COVID. So at the time of us starting, it's not that we are the first entrant into the market, or there have been all the techs which existed for 4 or 5 years ahead of us.
And that's when the boom kind of
I think
happened,
while
right?
we also
That was a good time
leveraged
for
upon the tailwinds that COVID has brought us, and we raised our Series A round during this February or March. By then, all the tailwinds have become turned into
Yeah.
headwinds for us, especially in
Yeah,
our
it was a
case.
dry well.
And especially with the tech layoffs that have been happening all around and all of it, but still we managed to kind of raise.
No, so
the
that's where I'm trying to push you. But
Yes.
Rahul is a very interesting person.
Mhm.
He's not yielding trade secrets, guys. I mean, are you with me? Did he come out with anything? I mean, see, I tried so hard for everybody, right? To very generic.
Yeah.
Very
I
generic.
think
Yeah, very generic, man.
I think while
Now you have to say something.
yeah,
no?
I think see, the first principles are same across all the products. I do not see that I do not say that we have a magic formula or anything.
No, what is that moat? So let me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to leave you.
See,
What's that moat?
moat-
When you talk about NxtWave,
Sure,
let's position.
sure.
And this is a plug for your brand.
sure.
How do you position?
Had they been our customer, target base, I would have talked more about our product.
No, see,
as
they are your
much.
referrals.
Definitely.
Don't discount them. They're going to
Definitely,
go out and
definitely.
talk about you.
Definitely.
right?
So that's why I'll talk about, we focus on like the specific niche of like saying that, we only target about engineering colleges. We are very
Right.
focused,
Yeah.
and we also our focus is very clear in terms of we focus on tier 2, 3, 4 colleges. And our focus is also very clear that, we have to take the vernacular approach towards teaching. That's our insight in terms of like, when we are trying to tap into tier 2, 3, 4, it's not about like, if I bring a professor from Harvard, the student will be able to relate to them or engage with them better. So it's more about, I come from Hyderabad. I relate to a lot of Telugu movies. While
Sure.
Hollywood content could be great, but still I keep watching Telugu movies a lot. So it's more about the personalization.
Right.
Language is one.
And the vernacular part of
Vernacular
it, right?
piece
And
is-
that's how you drive it, and
Exactly.
you're riding on that. So
Exactly.
that's one key strategy that you have.
Vernacular is one piece of the strategy. Target segment, a very clear, specific target segment is one strategy. And in
That we
terms-
help you do.
Exactly. And in terms of the outcomes as well. So while there are like plethora of job opportunities that are
Yes.
outside, but we choose to focus on certain roles within the market and be extremely good about it. So I think in terms of scoping things out and choosing that niche and doubling down. So we do not have like we do not do extensive digital marketing as such, because we know that our target segment lies in colleges. So we know that these college students are together, co-located, and once you kind of create an outcome for one student, there is a network effect which happens within the college.
Absolutely. I think that's a bigger play, right?
Exactly.
The network effect.
So
and-
I think it's more about like don't try to think like general playbooks, but identifying your own playbook for your target segment and customizing the value. Think more from the shoes of customer. I
Right.
think.
and do you thrive on FOMO? Just
I think,
asking.
see, in our sector that we are operating, we do not need to extensively create any FOMO.
It's
There are
already there?
parents, there are friends,
So it's
there are
already there.
colleges. So there is enough FOMO which is inherently being driven already. So
but that works. That works in your favor.
I think it works in every case.
in every
And,
case.
So it's not just about education as a business, but FOMO is a why would somebody buy a luxury car instead of why do they go
Sure.
about like doing pompous marriages in the country? So I think FOMO is everywhere. People do not want to miss out. So it's not about creating FOMO. Can only you can do it only for a while, but ultimately it has to create value for your customer. Only then they are gonna stick out to you, and
So value creation, I think that's
Exactly.
what I hear. Right? Value creation is very pivotal, right?
Exactly.
But for the larger audience, what is edtech all about, guys? What is it all about? I mean, what's the larger play? We keep talking about edtech. Is it? And I want to have your take on this. Is it more teacher driven, like you mentioned that I don't need this teacher to come in and that's how it kind of converts for me.
Mhm.
Is it more around the intuitiveness of the product, or the the teacher ecosystem, or the organic need amongst the student segment to upskill up?
Yeah, I think while it can vary again for segments, but for our segment, it's the outcome. So again, people when they join IITs, for example, so when they aspire for IITs, nobody bothers about like how the teaching is gonna be there. or like how good the faculty is. Nobody focuses on it. They just
Do we have
go to-
IITians in the room?
yeah.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
IITians.
yeah. So I think it's more about like the brand value as well as the outcome. Again, brand is more in terms of like signaling. So me going to some other place is a signaling mechanism for me. And second, obviously, it has to deliver an outcome. So I think as long as you're doing right on these two things, nothing else matters as much. While I can
Perfect.
talk about product experience and all of it, but
Yep.
at the end of the day, it has to translate into an outcome that the student aspires for.
Perfect. I think couldn't have asked for a better answer, and thanks for yielding. Finally, you yielded some trade secrets, but it's for everybody else to kind of build on top of it, and probably please connect with him after the session. Try your hand as well. Maybe you get to know something more than I could probably
Sure.
get him to talk
Sure.
about. Okay, so final thoughts, right? I think we've anything that we didn't touch upon, because I'm just trying to ensure that once we walk out of this room, we have enough takeaways, for everybody, and generally wanting to do this, especially for the sector at large also, right? I mean, edtech is very close to my heart. We as a company also have a very the most leading edtech portfolio, right? So in all essence, I think it's more about giving back and what we can also do for the sector, right? And it's all about value creation. It's a very great segment to be part of. So trying to understand from your lens, while we've spoken about strategies, we've spoken about personalization, we've spoken about cohort segments, user needs, all of that is covered. But what's next, right? In terms of innovation, where do you see this sector headed, and the play around your product and the aspirational value of it all? How that blends in, and again, how will that kind of help elevate LTV, and how will the customer journeys and the mapping evolve with time?
Sure. I think with what's happening in the generative AI for over the last 8-12 months, I think that's one piece none of us can ignore for the sheer, the value that it can create for. So I think we at NxtWave, I think we are kind of imbibing generative AI into each and every part of our customer journey, be it in terms of like, the query resolution, be it in terms of like teaching, be it in terms of like, providing proactive support to the predictive support to the student. I think providing the personalized coaching or mentoring sort of a system, providing like a mock interview, like which is like personalized mock interview for the student. So I think generative AI is something which I think is something that we are focused on or obsessed about in terms of like the technology piece which we would be integrating all throughout. And it means, what does it mean for the student? It again means more personalization from the student perspective, and he or she has access to the support 24/7, and you can provide it at dirt cheap costs compared to a human who is sitting outside. So I think this personalization translates to skill building, which translates it to further translates to getting or making a job out of it. So I think eventually that kind of propagates in terms of like the word of mouth, as well as referrals for you as a business. So I think a journey of 1,000 steps starts with a single step. So I think while LTV is something like which might look like magical to kind of achieve, but as long as we are focused on in terms of like smaller problem statements that we have to solve for our customers, that will eventually keep compounding to increasing LTV.
Perfect. I think that's a great take at it.
To kind of come in between now. Let's please end the session because I think we're already 30 to 60 minutes.
Oh, are we?
It's
didn't
a very
feel like
interesting one. I know audience has been enjoying a lot.
No, I think I'm just
yeah.
gonna close it anyways. So
Thank
yeah, thank you so much. So I mean, I think the room full of people kind of
Yeah.
makes it feel the same, right? And they are the witness to this.
Yeah.
So what we've done today, in terms of 2 more minutes. Okay, in terms of trends, right? And I can't just not ask you this. So I understand you're rooting for this, right? And change is all around it, and it's also gonna get more competitive, right? But where do you see the sector heading? I mean, what is that inflection point from where it will just change the entire landscape. Any thoughts on that?
Sure. I think so far, especially in the education as an industry, so while today you are seeing either offline or online players, but I think the future of education is more about hybrid. Like already some of the players have already started. So how can you kind of digitally enable offline ecosystem such that you can scale the quality of education to the masses and make it affordable. And today I think especially in the education industry, I think nobody wants to become a teacher because they are making like a lot of pay by being part of the industry than going and teaching it to the students. So by using technology you can make sure that you can personalize it and you can make it accessible, affordable, and you can't just be online. But at the same time, being offline doesn't mean that you are running or operating the think of it more like a McD sort of a model. So wherever you
Yeah.
go, you get the standardized sort of an experience. So I think that is yet to happen in the education domain. Even if you go to a grassroots level,
So you're pro offline as well?
I am pro offline right from day one. You can't expect like 4
Wonderful.
crore or 5 crore or 8 crore children.
That's a different fireside chat altogether, guys. Right? So that's another session that probably we have to do. Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Rahul. It was a pleasure having you. More power.